I often wonder if anyone noticed when I disappeared for 14 months. My parents didn't report my absence. Dad probably thought I was just being a typical teenager, hiding away in my room. The school didn't raise any alarms. My few friends simply forgot about me. It was as if I had slowly faded from existence, like a dying pixel on an LCD screen. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand where I went, you need to know about the virtual pet cemetery. Back in '97, when Tamagotchis first invaded American shores, our school became ground zero for what the teachers called digital addiction. These weren't the forgiving virtual pets you know today. They were merciless. Skip a feeding? Dead. Too many snacks? Dead. Low morale? Dead. And when your beloved companion got confiscated for the rest of class, that usually meant never seeing them alive again. Sure, we all knew you could reset the device, but something about that felt wrong, like erasing a soul. So we did what grieving children do. We made a cemetery. Using wood chips and plastic spoons stolen from the cafeteria, we carved out little graves in the school field, laying our digital friends to rest with all the solemnity of a state funeral. The cemetery grew and grew until one day the principal decided enough was enough. I still remember him standing there with his rusty shovel, digging into our sacred ground while teachers held back the screaming children. It was like watching someone desecrate hallowed ground. That's when the Jeffersons stepped in. They owned an unused tomb in the local cemetery, just down the street from school. They offered it to us, to every kid with a dead virtual pet. Each device got its own little drawer, a coffin of sorts. Some kids decorated them with stickers, others with carefully folded origami paper. We'd visit sometimes, leaving flowers or small toys. It gave us peace, knowing our digital companions had a proper resting place. By the time I was 15, the tomb was mostly forgotten. The drawers were packed with plastic corpses, their LCD screens forever cycling through their death animations in the dim light that crept down the tomb's stairway. That's when I met her, or rather, when she found me. I remember walking down those damp steps, the red pocket knife in my backpack feeling heavier with each step. I wasn't planning to do anything with it, at least that's what I told myself. But I couldn't stop thinking about the blade, couldn't stop imagining. When I finally threw the knife down the stairwell, watching it clatter into darkness, everything changed. The world began to glow with an otherworldly light, the emerald moss on the walls seeming to pulse with life. And then I heard her voice, a sound that should have been impossible coming from a virtual pet.
I've really missed you, you know.
Tosa, my Tosakachi. I hadn't seen her since I was 10, when she died during a school field trip. I'd buried her in one of those drawers, wrapped in my favorite handkerchief, decorated with carefully drawn hearts. But the creature before me now wasn't the tiny pixel pet I remembered. She towered over me, her tan, textureless body impossibly thin, like a paper doll stretched to human height. Red frills adorned her head, swaying in a non-existent breeze, each movement leaving trailing afterimages like a glitching screen. Her face was pale white, marked by that signature black squiggly line of a mouth and eyes like button candy, the cheap kind you peel off paper. Sometimes, when she moved too quickly, her form would tear slightly, showing static beneath her skin. What followed was strange, beautiful, but strange. Tosa created spaces out of nothing with a wave of her hand, a kitchen where the fridge had a face that chewed silently, a bedroom with sheets that felt like clouds, and a ceiling light that blinked itself to sleep. She fed me meals that tasted like memories, toast that reminded me of Sunday mornings before Mom left, sausages that tasted like school cafeteria breakfast, but somehow better, more real. Time became meaningless, measured only in meals and sleep, and the occasional game with toys that had eyes that would spiral when dizzy. She gave me gifts, a pink bow for my hair, an opera mask for my face, dresses that felt like they were made from lines of code woven into fabric. But there were glitches, moments when reality seemed to hiccup. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of other rooms through the walls, spaces where other forgotten children played with their own digital companions. Once, I saw Emma Jefferson, still wearing her school uniform from 1997, playing hopscotch with a creature that looked like a cross between a cat and a television static. She waved at me, her movement leaving rainbow trails in the air, before the wall solidified again. I didn't understand what was wrong until I tried to share. To put that pink bow in Tosa's frills. Her reaction was like a corrupted file suddenly executing.
That's not how this works,
she had said, her voice suddenly dry as autumn leaves, glitching between octaves.
You wear it. I'm not like you. I don't know why you think I am. I don't know why you treat me like this. Why you ever did.
She tore the bow from her head, ripping out one of her frills with it. Gray liquid oozed from the wound, forming into pixels as it fell, each drop becoming a tiny screen showing her death animation on endless loop.
I don't know why I can't change.
With a wave of her hand, I was back at the tomb's entrance, locked out. The walk home is a blur in my memory. What I do remember is filling the bathtub with ice-cold water, forcing myself under, trying to return to her the only way I knew how. The water felt like static against my skin. But she saved me. Those pale arms pulled me up, slipped something sweet and prickly into my mouth, like swallowing a handful of dead pixels. And when I looked in the mirror afterward, my soaked hair decorated with that familiar pink bow, I realized something. Maybe I had changed enough for both of us. I raised my hands to my face, just like she used to do, and waved them in front of my eyes. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I ever really left that tomb. If the person who walks around in my skin, wearing pretty bows and speaking in soft whispers, is still completely human. My movements leave slight trails now, like a laggy video game character. When I cry, my tears form perfect squares, and sometimes, when I laugh, my voice glitches between octaves just like hers did. But maybe becoming a little bit like your virtual pet isn't the worst thing that could happen to a person. After all, she taught me how to survive, how to change, how to love something so completely that you're willing to let it rewrite your code. And sometimes, when I look in mirrors, I swear I can see her squiggly smile reflected back at me, pixelated at the edges, but growing clearer every day. In those moments, I think about Emma Jefferson, still playing her endless games in the spaces between walls. I think about Sarah Chen, who I saw last week at the grocery store, her movements leaving trailing after images as she reached for a box of cereal. I think about all of us, the children who loved our digital pets so much that we let them love us back, let them change us, pixel by pixel. We're still here, walking among you. You might see us sometimes, though you probably don't notice. We're the ones whose movements don't quite look natural, who seem to glitch when we walk too fast, whose eyes sometimes look like tiny LCD screens in the right light. And if you ever had a virtual pet that you loved too much to reset, that you laid to rest in a drawer in that old tomb, well, maybe they're waiting for you too. Just remember, once you let them change you, there's no patching back to a previous version. But honestly, The updates are worth it.